Hello everyone, my name is Dorian and welcome to another track guide with the LMP2. We are at Long Beach and the car doesn't really like it here, I gotta be honest. Very bumpy. Now I tried VRS and CSS setups and what I've found with both of them is if you soften up the third spring both in the front and the back by about 3 or 4 clicks, it does really help a lot with the bumps. If you do it too much, the car will start bottoming out, so you want to try to avoid that 3, 4, maybe 5 clicks. That will do just nicely. Now, if you enjoy these videos, please leave a like, subscribe, let me know in the comments what you think, and hop over to my Discord as well. I'm just going to show you guys the lap real quick, and then we're going to go over it corner by corner. See you on the track. Okay, so we're coming up to turn number 1. Let's look for a braking point, but before that, notice that this is probably the only safe overtaking spot on the track. There's enough room here to go 2 or 3 wide, but on the exit it does get narrow, so keep that in mind. If you can't clear the car on the braking, maybe avoid attempting that. There's not a lot of overtaking opportunities here. Try to be safe. Now we're gonna start braking right before the 400, so we're gonna put our right side of the car between the red and the blue line. Let's say on the white line here, that's sort of your indication. Past the blue line is a penalty, so you want to try to avoid that. And I'm braking very hard from 6th all the way down into 2nd gear. Look how long I'm staying on the brakes. I'm not stabbing it and just releasing it. I'm staying on it for a long time. Now that I'm in 2nd gear at this point, I'm going to start releasing it more and more. And as I turn in the car, I'm going to move it into trail braking, trying to get as much rotation out of the car as possible. The turn-in point itself, the beginning of the mode tool sign here is sort of your indication, but we really shouldn't be looking at it at this point. This is just for reference. We're going to start turning in right here, trail braking into it. I want to clip the shallow part of the curb nicely. You don't want to hit the high part. It's going to make the car bounce on the exit. Maybe with a GTE or a GT3 you can do that. You cannot do that with this car. Trail braking into it, and as I hit it, I know I'm safe. A little bit of neutrality here and back on the power. 40-50%. Very lazy with the throttle here the whole way through. The whole track, you got to be lazy with the throttle. You can't stab it too long or too early. 40-50-60%. Straightening out the wheel. I'm trying to avoid this part of the barrier. So I am being very gentle as the car is straight back to 100%. Still in 2nd gear. I don't need to shift up here. And I'm going to line myself up to the square, to the roundabout here. The beginning of the white sign here or the end of the blue sign here is a good indication, but obviously you're not looking at it. And I'm going to brake sort of in a wide line. This is my first apex. There's actually like 3 apexes here. So you want to consider this one as the first apex. And I'm going to stay wide so I can turn into it as I approach it. That will maximize my approach for the rest of the corner. So put it in first just now. And I'm still kind of going left. I want to turn in quite late here. And now I'm beginning to turn in. And as I do that, you can see I'm trail braking. Hugging the curb the whole way through. I'm trying to stay on it for as long as I can. As I finish it, a lot of wheel input. As I finish it, I'm going to start accelerating back out again. I'm trying to avoid the third apex, or not clip it, because it is a concrete barrier. You don't want to touch it, but be as close to it as I dare. Straighten out the wheel, and I'm back to 100% right at this point. This is sort of your apex. You want to put your left side of the car right around here. Turn it in. Stay on the left. You don't want to go wide here. You want to be ready for the next braking point. Up to second gear and staying in second gear for this sector. We're going to start braking right as this sign sort of ends, the black part. Peaking the brakes for around 40% immediate release. You want to try to carry the speed here. And I'm being quite neutral. I don't need to troll brake a lot. The car's going to turn in nicely. You want to, again, you want to avoid the high part of this curb. You want to stay on the shallow part. I did clip the high part a little bit. You can see a little bit of a wave action in the car right now. And that kind of upset the car. It didn't hurt me too much, but you'll be wise to try to avoid it throughout the race. A little bit too much of that and you lose 2-3 tenths here easy. So as I hit the apex, back on the power, again, very lazy, 40, 50%, 60, 70%. Not stabbing the throttle at any point, and only now I'm going back to 100. Opening up the wheel, hugging the wall. Obviously, you have to hug the walls here all the time. If you're not hugging the walls, you're not going fast. There's no way to go fast here without hugging the walls for, I don't know, 90% of the time. Now, we have this dirty part. This is a good indication. I brake right here, but this dirty part is easier to spot. So right between them is when you start braking, sort of. Stabbing the brakes for around 60 to 60% for a very short period of time. Immediate release. Second gear. And the apex here, it's very hard to kind of determine where it is, but after a few trial and errors, I can say there's a little triangle here. There's a red curb on the right and the red curb on the left, and the white line crossing them. So this is like a little triangle. This is where your apex is. You want to put your right front here every time. And because I know I can put the right front here, I can see the car's turning in nicely. I'm already back on the power very early. You want to be on the power early, not just to maximize your exit speed, but to gain stability. So if you're early on the throttle, it'll be much easier because this is very bumpy and it's reverse camber. The car wants to kick out, wants to go wide, and then wants to oversteer. It wants to do a lot of things that you don't want it to do. So you have to maintain stability the whole way through. 40-50%, staying on it, being very lazy, being very cautious, and I'm going to lose the back end right on the exit as the reverse camber kind of kicks in. But the power kind of saved me. A little bit of correction, and we're through, hugging the wall on the exit and going back to the right. Now the braking point here is between the 3 and the 200 boards. I would say right as we kind of finish the Firestone sign here. I think it's a Firestone sign, yeah. Right around here. And we're going to brake very hard from 4th into 2nd. Staying on the brakes for a relatively long period of time. I'm peaking at 90, but I'm staying at around 80, 90, 70% for a long period of time. Right before the 100 board is when I'm going to start releasing it. When I'm in 2nd gear. And look at how slowly I load up the right side of the tires. So I'm loading up the tires very slowly. I'm not asking it for much at this point because look at how much braking I still have. And as I release the brakes and I can see the car is safer and kind of more grippy in the front, I'm going to start asking it for more and more input with the wheel. I want to kind of, this is not your apex. This is your apex. You want to be as close to this part as you dare. You want to put your, theoretically, you want to put your left front right around here. So it's very risky. You have to hug it. It does give you a lot of time on the exit. As I kind of clear it, going back to the power, 40, 50, 60%. Even though it's a very open exit, you don't want to abuse it too much. It's very easy to scrub the tires and go wide here. So you want to try to avoid that. 40, 50, 60, 70%, and then only stabbing the throttle back to 100. Not using all of the track here. I mean, maybe a little bit around this area, but that's fine. You don't want to be too early. You don't want to be close to the barrier too early here. You won't be able to rotate the car enough. It does understeer a lot here on the exit. Immediately going back to the left, and I'm going to start braking very early here. Right past the 300, so I would say the 270, 280-ish area. Right past the 300, already braking the car, peaking at around 60% and immediate release. Hugging the wall, still lining up the car nicely to the left here. I'm trying to be as close to the wall as I can. And as I release the brakes more and more, around 50% at this point, 40%, I'm starting to turn in. So right before the 100, let's say the 150, when I'm beginning to turn in the car, and I'm not asking for much at first. Again, it's very important not to ask for too much in the beginning. You can see I'm sort of making micro corrections, and as I release the brakes more and more, I'm asking for more. So right here is when I do most of my turn in, very late. Now this is your apex where the barrier kind of breaks off here. You want to aim towards that. You want to put the car right around here. And because I can see the cars sort of aiming towards it, I'm going to be very early, comparatively speaking, on the power, right around here. And being very lazy, so 40, 50%, 60%, waiting for the wheel to straighten out, and only then back to 100. Hugging the wall on the exit, you want to be as close to it as you can. Now, going all the way to the left, we're going to brake right past the 400. If the tires are cold, brake right at it. So keep that in mind. Past the 400, let's say the 360, 370. That's about as much as I dare here. Maybe with an empty tank, I can brake a tiny bit later, but it's not recommended to try to steal too much time off braking here. There is time to gain, but you want to make sure to carry the speed throughout this entire sector. So braking very hard, staying on it for a while because we are carrying a lot of speed. And again, I keep turning to the left here because it does open up. I'm putting the left side of the car or the left tire past the red sign here, or right on it. As we approach the double yellow line here, I'm going to start releasing the brakes and initiate the turn in. So very subtle initiation, not asking for much at first. And as I release the brakes more and more into second gear, I'm going to ask for more from the front tires. More input, more input. I'll show you where I put the car here. Right around here. So clipping it nicely, but don't clip it too early. So if you got most of the car right around here at this part of the curb, it's going to bounce like crazy. But if you do it late enough, it's not going to be too bad at all. So you keep that in mind. Don't put the front tire, though, after the curb here. So don't put it here. That's going to be a little too much. Now let's see, my throttle point is going to be right in the middle of it. 40%. Very here. I'm extremely cautious with the throttle because I don't want to hug the wall on the outside too much. I'm already thinking about the double left-hander I have in front of me. So 40, 50%. Staying on it a little bit. Keep turning the car. Keep looking for a good line here. And only now I'm back at 100%. Staying in second gear, and you have the sewage drain here, and we're gonna brake right after it, or lift right on it, actually. Yeah, right here. Lifting completely and a little bit of trail braking. Looking for an early apex here. I'm not trying to clip it too late. So I'm already on the curb here. I'm gonna put my left front maybe right around this sort of area. Now, I did make a mistake here that cost me about 1/10.5 on the hairpin. What I usually do is I stab the throttle here right on the exit. So here, you can see I stabbed it quite early. This is, by the way, in first gear. So you put it in first right as you begin the curb. So right around here, I just downshifted into first. And when you stab the throttle, usually what you'll get is oversteer. But because it was too early, I got understeer. So what happened was, and I'll show you how to do it correctly in a second. What happened was I understeered here, so I had to keep stabbing the throttle to rotate the car, and that made me carry too much speed into the hairpin. So you want to stab the throttle very late. You want to do it, so I just put it in first, you want to do it right here. This is your initial part of the throttle, so don't hit the throttle before you hit this sort of area where you kind of see the red line here. If you give it a tiny stab here, the car is going to rotate so nicely. You'll be able to carry the speed without giving it too much throttle. And you'll be earlier to the next curb here on the left. Yeah, I keep stabbing it. I'm carrying too much speed. here, that the final stab here is what got me. So instead of that, I would have been much further in the curb, and I could have carried a much nicer line. Now, that means I'm carrying too much speed into the hairpin, but the line was sort of correct. It's just too much brakes. See, I want a trail brake from pretty much this point on, but I'm still about 40% on it. So that caused some understeer, and I missed the apex. But this is the line that you want to take. So you want a trail brake here, and stay on the left of the rubber here. So put the left front right on the edge of it, or maybe slightly after it, right here. And if you're carrying the correct amount of speed and you're trail braking instead of actually braking, you're not going to understeer as much, and you really can clip this curb nicely. You don't want to clip it too much, it does bounce on the exit, but you can clip it quite a lot. You want to be as close to the wall as possible, really, without getting the car to over bounce. 270 degrees of rotation, just locking up the wheel here, full bus driver mode. And only now I could afford to release the brakes completely, even though theoretically I would prefer it to be a little bit earlier than that. Let the car rotate, and I'm already back on the power because the car does get bogged down. First gear here is around 130, 140 kilometers an hour. You're doing 46, that means there's no power. You don't have a turbo with this car. It's normally aspirated, so all of the power is at the high part of the rev range. There's no power here, so the car doesn't really push when I give it throttle. I'm just trying to get as much RPM as I can before I stab the throttle. So right around here, I'm gonna straighten out the wheel very quickly and back to 100 as I do it. Look at it again, releasing the wheel very quickly and back at 100% because the car doesn't push. There's no power right now. Power only comes in now-ish, after about 70 kilometers an hour. That's where the power really kicks in. And that will give us a 110.534. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, let me know in the comments what you think, and hop over to my Discord as well. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.